And showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. A look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am executive editor of the ChannelPro Network. I'm also one of your hosts on this program. I am joined this week, as every week, by my co-host Eric Simpson, who is a business transformation and improvement consultant for MSPs and other IT providers. And Eric, you are not at home this week.
I am not, Rich. I'm in Dallas, Texas this week, once again, remoting in from not home base. Hopefully, after today's 5-minute roundup, I will be at home base for the next several weeks to see us through the new year. How about you, Rich?
I've been home since just before Thanksgiving. It's a nice little stretch off the road to recuperate a little bit, and yeah, I will be here for a few more weeks before the business travel picks up again. So kind of nice.
Absolutely. So I know that we've got a really good feature story, and I think an interesting humor segment this week.
Well, we will put that last bit on hold and come back to that. You mentioned, of course, we are right on the brink of the holidays. We are heading into a new year. There has certainly been news in the industry, but we thought this week maybe we would look ahead to 2020. And this is that time of year when experts of every kind in the IT industry are making predictions for the year ahead. We recently published a collection of security-specific predictions from some big vendors in the industry on the ChannelProNetwork.com website. And so I figured this week our top story would basically be looking at some of what is up ahead in 2020, according to security experts in the vendor community. We've got 7 of those predictions in particular. Maybe I'll just start with the first one on the list there, which is sort of a good news, bad news story. Good news is that you're going to see wider adoption of multi-factor authentication, which is truly a best practice in the security realm right now, and specifically among mid-sized businesses. The folks at WatchGuard believe MFA is really going to start becoming a standard there. The bad news is that the bad guys are starting to figure out ways to get around MFA, or at least as it's typically implemented today. So SIM jacking, in which somebody can kind of convince a mobile carrier to transfer somebody's phone number from the legitimate owner to a bad guy. This is starting to become more prevalent out there. If you're using an MFA tool that relies on the SIM card, essentially, the phone, you're going to have a problem there. So wider use of MFA, maybe some issues in terms of the reliability of MFA. Good news, bad news there. Ransomware. Everybody loves the topic of ransomware. It's a huge problem in cybersecurity right now. We got a couple of different predictions there. First of all, and this was a bit of a surprise to me, ransomware obviously is an enormous issue, but it almost entirely targets hardware, targets endpoint devices. There really hasn't been a lot of, or haven't been a lot of ransomware attacks that have struck cloud-based workloads or cloud-based data. But there are experts out there who see that changing in 2020. It's going to be an interesting test for the Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure kinds of platforms in the world to see if they and the security vendors whose tools are used by end users on those platforms are prepared to deal with ransomware that targets the cloud. And also there's a prediction that you're going to see a little bit more targeting in terms of the individuals who ransomware practitioners go against. They're going to be looking for people who are better able to pay and more likely to pay, instead of just kind of sending their emails around to the universe and seeing who strikes. 5G. So next year will probably not be the year that 5G becomes mainstream, but it will certainly be a year of advances for 5G adoption. And there are a number of security professionals who are actually kind of concerned about that due to some of the ways that technology is implemented, some of the handoffs that can happen between the radio built into a mobile device and a Wi-Fi network back and forth. There have been some vulnerabilities found in that technology. And so there's a lot of concern out there, that, especially as 5G is new, that there are some exposures there that hackers are going to take advantage of. And then the other, longer term, kind of bigger issue with 5G that I've certainly heard people talk about is we're looking forward to it because it's so fast. But precisely because it's so fast, anything bad that happens on 5G is going to happen faster. and there's going to be less reaction time, essentially, in terms of defensive technology. So it'll be an interesting year in terms of 5G and learning about the security implications of 5G and seeing if the industry is ready to deal with that. And then last but not least, very quickly, is just artificial intelligence, which has really been sort of the field leveling technology, the odds evening technology that security vendors have been leaning on the last few years to counteract all of these very creative attacks out there. We're going to see, according to some experts, hackers who are aware of the fact that machine learning and AI are helpful for security vendors, actually kind of target those engines and look for ways, specific ways to fool them or counteract their capabilities, and begin using artificial intelligence on their own to do things like deep fakes that allow somebody to create a video of something that never even really happened. So there you go. Plenty of good reasons to both be looking ahead to 2020, Eric, and also be very afraid about 2020.
Yeah, I think that's a great write-up, a great article, Rich. And, especially on the AI side, I mean, that's how it all starts. I mean, that's where the machines start taking over. Skynet, I mean, it's been predicted. So, good news, bad news, right?
And the maybe not surprising, but a slightly disturbing thing is that some very smart security people who are saying that we're going to have this issue in terms of determining the authenticity of a caller or an email or a texter, and all of that's going to get to be really, really difficult. And none of those folks that I'm aware of has presented a solution to that problem yet. I don't think the security industry really knows how to fix that issue at this point. I hope they kind of figure it out at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, some of the points that were expressed by the experts on the technology being great and all, but with it also comes greater risk. I think that's the takeaway for me, is like every time we make an advancement, the cyber criminals and the bad guys are going to find a way to exploit it. So and getting more information on how they're doing it is really what you detailed in each one of those little articles in this top 7 thing. So I thought it was really interesting, thinking about 5G. I'm like, well, how are they going to do that? Well, it's when the Wi-Fi radio switches over to the 5G radio is where they're saying there's an opportunity, for someone to man in the middle of that somehow. So it's really interesting to read it and to come away a little bit more sober about, what we should be talking to our clients about. And, in the case that you bring up where there really isn't a solution for it, that's going to be a kind of an awkward conversation when the clients all want to move toward a new technology. And, you've got to be the risk averse person telling them, well, maybe we shouldn't move that fast, even when they want to go there, right?
Well, so we are talking about what the year ahead holds in store for security, but your tip of the week actually is looking ahead to the new year too.
It is. And, just as we need to sit down and put our strategy together for 2020, just as we tend to do so at the end of every year as business owners, I want us to be intentional about identifying the top 3 things that we need to accomplish in Q1. As you map out your strategy for 2020, you should break it out into, quarterly milestones and quarterly goals. And borrowing a bit from, the entrepreneurial operating system of Traction by Gino Wickman, I want us to identify our first 3 most important, what Gino calls rocks or milestones, that we need to focus on in Q1. And what this is, Rich, is these are the 3 things that we are going to accomplish in the midst of everything else. If we accomplish nothing else, we are going to accomplish at least these 3 things. And this teaches us focus, and it teaches us intentionality. And I just want to encourage our business owners that watch the 5-minute roundup to not only kind of, put your wish list together of what needs to happen, but break it down and be more specific, and then prioritize. And 3 is good. If you start having a list of 10 or 12, it's not going to work because you just aren't going to have enough time to focus on these. But I think start with 3. And once you get those 3 done, hopefully you're doing this quarter by quarter, by the end of the first quarter, you're thinking about your next 3 for the next quarter. And again, the important thing about this is that these things have to be accomplished. So these are the most important things that are going to drive business growth or address a business pain of yours, or maybe you're looking to replace, one of your tool sets or engage with a vendor. I mean, what are the 3 most important things that you have to accomplish in Q1, and focus on getting those things done in the midst of all the interruptions and the firefighting and the whirlwind of distractions that you're going to face in Q1.
And there was a really important point in there. I think just earlier today we recorded another episode of the ChannelPro Weekly podcast for folks who aren't familiar with that. We were talking about New Year's resolutions, and of course, it's important to get started on a New Year's resolution. It's also important to continue actually doing it once you get started on it. And so, set those goals for Q1, pursue those goals for Q1, and then keep doing it. Q2, Q3, don't just make this a one and done kind of thing. Don't make it a New Year's resolution like going to the gym that you do for 6 weeks and then you stop. Really kind of resolve that you're going to do this on a regular basis, quarterly, and just make it part of the way you run your business. And I think most people are going to reap some rewards from that.
Yeah, great reinforcement, Rich. I mean, I've had New Year's resolutions in past years that I've broken on January 2nd. So yeah, this is different than that.
Yes, very important that it should be. Well, we have got time for just one more story this week. Eric was kind of hinting at it before a little bit, and it comes to us from the UK and an organization that I didn't even know existed, but I'm sort of tickled in a sense that it does, the British Toilet Association. Who knew there's a British Toilet Association? Is there an American Toilet Association? I don't know. I'll have to look later on. But they've been very concerned about a problem that I, didn't even know was a problem exactly, which is people going into the bathroom with their phone and getting on Facebook and Twitter and just not getting off the toilet. And it's a productivity issue, obviously. If somebody's spending 20, 30 minutes in the bathroom here, this can't be good for their employer. What do you do about it? Well, the British Toilet Association has come up with a solution for this. They're calling it the standard toilet. And it's just like a regular toilet, except it slopes down 13 degrees, which puts just enough weight on your legs that after about 5 minutes or so, you're going to get uncomfortable and you're going to need to leave. So if you find yourself working someplace where they have actually installed new toilets to make sure that you're back at work quick as can be and not spending too much time in the bathroom, you can thank the folks, the good folks at the British Toilet Association. They have cracked this societal issue.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems to me, Rich, like they're punishing us for something that may not need to be punished for. I mean, we take that home with us. We take that out of the office with us. So now, are we training ourselves not to want to go to the potty now because it's just so painful? We're building up this psychological aversion to going number 2. I don't know. I don't think there's been enough studies on this, but I guess time will tell.
Well, we'll get a note into the American Toilet Association and see if they've got a take on this. That is all the time we've got this week on the 5-Minute Roundup. In fact, we're both going to be on break next week, so this is our last 5-Minute Roundup for 2019. We will be back again in the new year to talk with you again about what's happening in the industry here. If you like this show and you want to take a look maybe at some episodes you've missed before, keep up to speed on the new ones as they become available, what you want to do is go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube and subscribe to that. Make sure you click the little bell there if you want to get notifications when new episodes become available. You want to read this article about 7 security predictions from vendors. You want to get business growth advice. You want to read about what's news is happening in the industry. Please, every day, pay a visit to channelpronetwork.com. We've got great new content for you going up there all the time. To learn more about Eric and the work that he does with his clients, your destination should be ericsimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. So once again, we wish you happy holidays. We will see you again in the new year. For now, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.